welcome to another mini-sode. We're going to talk about wine glasses. Why do we choose this wine glass? Why would we use this one? Why would we ever use a champagne flute? This is a question that I have asked, and this is a question that a lot of friends and family have given me, so I chose to address it. Alright, wine glasses. We have three before us, and they're sort of in order of most usefulness to least usefulness in my opinion, but we'll talk about why we use each one of them. Why would we ever choose this wine glass? So this is more akin to a universal wine glass because it has a lot of space here at the top, a bit of space here for wine, and it's wider, allowing more air and more wine to mix when you swirl it. So you would use this one for any sort of light-bodied red or a heavy-bodied red, or maybe even a more heavy-bodied white wine. And the reason you'd use it for the reds or the heavy-bodied whites is because those wines have more aroma, and the more aroma it has, the more you're gonna want space for that air to mix with that wine before it even hits your palate. That will actually elevate your wine tasting experience. We've got a slightly smaller wine glass, and it's got a fairly common shape. Notice how the curve is not as significant. It has a very mellow shape. So the reason you would use this wine glass, white wines or light-bodied or very light-bodied rosés, or you could use it for dessert wines or port. When it comes to the dessert wine and the port, you're pouring yourself. You're really not. You're pouring to like there at the most. You're not pouring yourself much. For the white wine or for those light-bodied rosés, you don't need as much air to mix with that wine because there's just not as much aroma that needs to come out of the wine. So you really don't need a lot of space, and you don't need it to trap. You don't need the wine glass to trap it as much. A champagne flute. The reason we use this glass for champagne is because once you pour it into the glass, boom, it hits the bottom. It can't spread out, so the bubbles only have one place to go, and that's up. Now, this doesn't elevate the experience of tasting that wine in any way possible. This sort of glass is purely for the aesthetic of watching those bubbles rise. There are a lot of wine glasses to choose from out there, and if you wanted to get very specific, there is a wine glass for
Chardonnay, there's a wine glass for sherry, a wine glass for young rosé, a wine glass for old rosé, wine glass for Pinot Noir, a wine glass for Cab, a wine glass for Bordeaux style.
It's kind of ridiculous. You don't need that many wine glasses. There's no space for it. So these three seem to be the most common that I see people picking. If you are someone who doesn't have a lot of space, and even for three various wine glasses, and you only have room for one good set, what do? Forget these. These are gone. You don't need them. If you only have room for one good set, I recommend getting something more akin to a universal wine glass. There is so much space in this wine glass. It has a wide enough top that you can stick your nose in there for your rosés and for your whites. And even if you're drinking sparkling wine, you have the space in this one for that too. Now sure, the bubbles aren't going to immediately come up. They're going to spread out a little, but you can taste the wine better. The last question I would like to address. Would I choose a wine glass with a stem, or could I choose stemless? The only thing I'm going to ask you is, are you going to be holding your wine for a while? Or are you going to set it down on a table and you're not going to touch it that often? If the answer is you're going to be holding your wine as you socialize, or maybe you're holding your wine as you cook, or you're holding your wine as you clean your house, well, you're going to want a wine glass with a stem. When you touch the body of your wine glass, you're heating up the contents with the palm of your hand. Now, a wine that is too warm doesn't always taste the best. Sometimes you want your wines to stay at those cellar temperatures. You hold it by the stem. Some people hold it by the base. I don't know why they would, but some people do. But you hold it here, you're not touching the wine. You're not heating up the wine with your hand, so you're not changing your experience every sip. If you really do like the appearance of those stemless wine glasses, go for it. I have one, and they're really great for, you know, the nights that you feel like that you're more likely to knock it over. Why do we pick the wine glass we do? If you want to get specific about it, it's because the shape of your wine glass can enhance your experience with that wine. But if you want to get not so fancy about it, it's a matter of preference. Pick the wine glass that you feel most comfortable holding. Pick the wine glass that you think is going to suit what you drink. Pick the wine glass that's going to look best in your house. Pick the wine glass that you're not going to break. If you want to get nitpicky about it, you can get a set that's got your Chardonnay glass, your white wine glass, your rosé glass, your young rosé glass, your Cabernet glass, your Bordeaux style glass, your Burgundy glass, your sherry glass, your port glass. There's so many options that you can choose from. But really what it comes down to is, what are you drinking? What do you need in a wine glass? Do you need a wine glass that's universal? Do you need a wine glass that's not gonna break? Or do you need a wine glass that just looks better with what you already have? If you are like me and you don't have one particular wine that you keep going back to, and you try a lot of different wine, but you don't have the space for your very specific set, well, get a universal. Trust your senses. You are so much more in tune with your body than you know, and the best way to figure that out is to just trust what you taste, trust what you smell. So it really doesn't help for me to do this experiment on camera, because this is something that is so much more powerful when you experience it yourself. So go ahead, pick a bottle of red wine and a bottle of white wine and pour them in these glasses. Give it a try. If you have a larger glass and you have a smaller glass, try the red in both of them. Smell them, taste them. Believe me, you're gonna notice something. And do the same thing with your white wine. See what you can smell, see what you can taste. The same wine is gonna taste and smell different in both of these glasses. That's just a fun little experiment I like to do with wine, and I find that it really does work sometimes. Oh, and if you tried the experiment, let me know how it goes in the comments. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you on Friday.